Hello everyone and welcome back to my Carnival Cruise review. So this is the final portion of my little review here. I've had a mini series type of thing going on here where I have talked about different aspects of my Carnival Cruise trip that I took back in November of 2017. It was a 5-day cruise to the Bahamas and we stopped in two ports, Freeport and Nassau. And I've been talking about a whole bunch of stuff. So we've been through the price, we've been through the staterooms, we talked about the food, we talked about the excursions, and of course the entertainment. So now we have nothing else left to do but talk about the overall experience. So if you have not watched any of the other videos, that's basically what we've been going through and we've been doing. You can check all of them out. They are all separate because I felt it would be better to do it separately than to do them all together, because then the video would be like over an hour long, and that just didn't seem like something that someone would want to sit down and watch for an hour. Just someone talking, and they might just want to know about certain aspects of a cruise and not just want to hear about every little detail. So that's why I decided to break everything up into categories. So let's go ahead without further ado though, and let's get into the final portion of the review, and that would be the overall experience that I had with Carnival Cruise Lines or just cruising in general. And that is going to be something unique for me, really, to be honest, because we had a bit of an interesting experience. So I'm basically going to talk about my story as to what happened, how we got to where we were on the cruise, and what it was like for us. So it'll be kind of like an in-person perspective for anybody who wants to or is thinking about going on a Carnival cruise. This will kind of help you out. Maybe you could decide if you want to go from this or not. But so what we did is we drove down to the port. You can actually see that is my personal video right there. Both of them are actually. We drove down to the port. Well, we didn't drive to the port exactly because I had asked them about leaving our vehicles in their parking area, because they do have a parking area if you would like to leave your vehicle there. But they charge you like $20 a day, and we were going to be gone for 5 days. So yeah, it would be $100 or a little over $100 just to keep our car there. And we'd already spent so much money on the cruise, plus we'd spent so much money trying to get down to the port on gas and hotels, that we really didn't want to spend any extra money. So I had some family that actually lived down towards the port, well, what I thought was close to the port. So we asked them if we could go and stay with them one night. We will get in a day early before the cruise leaves, which I watched a few of the review videos myself of some other people's experience on cruises, and they recommended that you definitely want to get there at least a day ahead of time. And I definitely would recommend that as well, because you have no idea what could happen traffic wise, or airplane wise, if you decide to fly. But definitely get there a day before. So we drove down pretty much the whole way there. We were just about 3 or 4 hours away from the port, and we ended up staying with some of my family for a night, and then they drove us down to the port so that we wouldn't have to leave our vehicle there and we wouldn't have to pay the fee for leaving it. But on our way down to this area where some of my family lives, we weren't told, because of course he didn't tell me, but we were not told that the traffic would be super crazy, like literally super crazy. It was around Christmas time. It was Thanksgiving. It was like 2 days after Thanksgiving. So there's this area apparently down there where it's like an exit It's some kind of Christmas area down there. I had no idea it was even a thing. But ended up the exit was so long and so crowded that they had backed up into the highway. They were so backed up to try to get into this exit. He actually almost rear-ended someone trying to get to where we needed to go, because we didn't realize we were in the wrong lane, and all of a sudden traffic was going from like 70 to 40 and then to 0 really quickly. So that was pretty traumatic. And then when we were leaving, we stopped at some other family that was kind of really close to where we live, a couple of hours away, just for spending Thanksgiving with them. And before we left there, we didn't even get on the road for about an hour, and we got into a hit and run, which was nice because the guy hit the side of our car in his big huge truck, and luckily we weren't hurt at all. The car looked absolutely terrible, but as you can see, we're still driving, and we drove it all the way there and we drove it all the way back, and it had no problems whatsoever. So that car was definitely pretty tough. It was a Chevy Aveo, by the way, if you want to know, because that thing took that hit like a tank. But the guy ended up hitting us in the side and then drove off. So we're standing there literally not knowing what to do, because we have to pull over to see if the car can actually run, if it works, if we're leaking any fluids. The passenger side door and the driver's side door, basically everything on the driver's side wouldn't open, so we had to use the passenger door in the front to get in and out of the vehicle, which was pretty awkward and pretty weird at times. But we ended up not being able to find the guy. Didn't have any camera footage anywhere, so we had to continue on because we had to get down there so that we could get to our ship. Because if you'll remember when I talked about in the price area of the review, is that if I booked this cruise, I was going to get down there no matter what. So that meant if we had a broken down car that was barely going, we were going to get down there. And we did, and it didn't have any problems. Only thing was that we couldn't open the driver's door, and we couldn't open the passenger driver's, everything on the driver's side basically. The back passenger, the driver's side wouldn't open, and it had actually dented the door so bad in the back on the driver's side that there was a little hole in the door, and it made airflow in and out of the vehicle super loud, so we couldn't hardly hear the radio at all. We had to just listen to like the sound of vehicles going by super loud. But other than that, we did manage to get down there finally after what seemed like about 12 hours. I was really debating stopping halfway and going to stay at a hotel. I was definitely debating doing that. But we didn't. We just went ahead and chucked on. The weather was actually pretty bad as well. Actually, it was on our way back where we had the bad weather, but on the way there it wasn't too bad. And then the next day when we were about ready to get to the port and we needed to get down there, I had my family drive us, remember I told you guys? And it ended up taking us over 3 hours to get down there. So he said he lived close by. That was pretty much a lie because he did not live close by. So we had to drive down there, and then we barely had enough time to eat our lunch before we had to go and get on the ship. And then that's when the fun began, basically, because I found out right away that I was seasick and that I experienced seasickness, which I had no idea that I would experience. So I packed a medication bag and took it with me, and I had some seasick medicine if I needed it. I had 8 pills, and you can take 1 a day, but I had no idea what was going on. I felt weird about 3 out of the 5 days that we were on the ship, and it didn't ever occur to me that I was seasick. It just didn't occur to me because I had been on, not a ship like a cruise ship, but I had been on a pontoon type boat before. and I'd been on boats, so I didn't really think that I would be seasick. Just didn't seem like something that would happen. But yeah, it turns out I was, because about the third or fourth day, I ended up taking some of my seasick medicine, and I felt so much better. Although it just made me super tired. Like, I literally would fall asleep and snore super loud. But that's basically what helped me after I'd realized that I was experiencing seasickness. So that was kind of a bummer as well. I wish I would have been able to prepare for it, but the only thing I knew is that I needed to bring this medicine with me. Didn't have any idea that it was going to make me that sleepy. I thought I had got the one that said it didn't make you that drowsy, but that made me pretty drowsy. I mean, the second I took it, I was out. Or I was just kind of like there, you know? Like, we would go someplace and we would do something, or we would go eat or something, and I would just have this glazed look in my eye. Not really anything else going on up there. But that was actually probably the only bad thing about the cruise. I didn't like that I had wasted the money on the Faster to the Fun Pass. And I did talk about that a little bit in the excursions, but we had purchased that and it was a complete waste of money, in our opinion. And I also didn't like that there was like no seafood, which I get it. We're on Carnival Ecstasy, which is an older ship, so there's not going to be as much to do as you would think. But it was kind of weird because, I mean, there was nothing seafood related, and I was really looking forward to having some good seafood. Wasn't there. The only thing I got was like a $30 lobster that I had to pay for, and then I had to get a refund for because it was absolutely terrible. But other than that, I don't think I have really very much more to complain about. I mean, it was pretty cool, I will say that. I mean, if I'm considering going on another cruise, I'd say it was a success. I mean, if you can look at that video there, that's actually our view at night from our balcony. Okay, to just sit out there on the balcony at night and just listen to the waves and to just not have anything else around you. Like, all the sound and the audio I'm hoping that you can hear right now is actually from that video there. It's the waves and the sounds that we heard at night, and it was so quiet and so peaceful. It was really nice to just sit out there on our balcony and just have a really nice little calm night where we didn't have to worry about other people and we could just enjoy ourselves and be alone together. I did like that. I love that we got the upgrade to the other room. I think if I would have got the interior room, I probably would have been even more seasick. Or if I wouldn't have been, then I probably would have been more upset because I wouldn't have got that privacy that I had been wanting. Because we would have had to go basically to the Serenity deck anytime that we wanted to go and relax and watch the water. So that was definitely a plus to have the balcony room as well. Definitely would recommend that. It is a bit more pricey to go balcony, but I think it's worth it in the end. If you spend your money on something other than the cruise, should be the room. In my opinion, that is. The food was not that bad. Definitely not something I'm going to rant and rave about, but I feel like it has something to do with the type of ship that you're on too. A lot of the stuff that I've been talking about kind of has to do with that. It definitely has to do with the type of ship you're on, because there's different things on each Carnival ship. And the only other thing I didn't really like is that when we docked at a port, we couldn't just walk right off on the beach. We would have to take a tour bus or some kind of bus or taxi to get down to the beach, and we could only stay for a certain amount of time because we had to worry about if we're going to get back to the ship and we're actually going to be able to make it in time to board before the ship departs. And another, you know what, a funny story about that as well. So you get your little sail and sign cards, and we ended up getting ours. We had brought along with us a what are those things called? A lanyard. We brought one of those with us so that we could put our cards on it so that we wouldn't lose it, because I had looked up, like I said, I've been looking up a few videos before we went on our cruise, and one of the main things that they recommended is that you bring a lanyard with you. So we actually had one around here and we decided to bring it with us, and it worked because it helped us hold our cards on it. But when we stopped at Nassau to go and down to see Atlantis, we went into the bathroom to go change into our swimsuits, and went to the beach, did everything we were supposed to do that day, and then we got ready to come home, or not come home. We were just getting ready to go back to the ship, so we went to go change again, and I kept thinking, like, I need to get the cards out because we're gonna have to have them anyway when we get back. So I searched all around my bag. I got really super scared because I was like, where are the cards? We can't get back on the ship without these cards. Where are they? And we're searching around everywhere, and we can't find them because apparently they weren't around our necks, and they got left in a bathroom or left somewhere. We have no idea where they were. We never found them. So we just decided to get back on the bus and get back over there and see if they would actually let us back on the ship. Luckily we still had our IDs on us and our wallets and things. It was just the lanyard that we just so happened to misplace because it was supposed to be around our necks, but we didn't keep it around our necks, and it was just really, really weird. They let us back on, of course, and they sent us up to guest services where they printed us off some more cards. So it was just like if you lose your hotel card key, they give you more. It wasn't a big deal. That was actually pretty nice because I was super scared that they weren't going to let us back on, because they kept stressing that if you don't have those Sail and Sign cards as well as your ID, then you're not going to get back on the ship. So that was kind of an experience in itself. But it's basically, everyone is different, of course. Like, my experience of the cruise was, I would like to do one again, but also I would like to be more prepared, and I would also like to definitely fly, which I don't even know if I can fly down there or not, to wherever they are. Would rather do that than drive. Would definitely not go during a season that has any holidays in it, or I would rather not go in a season where hurricane season has just ended or is still going on. I didn't know, but apparently from like June to November or something like that, June to October, is the start and stop of hurricane season on different parts of the islands, and I didn't like that because we were at the end of November and we had just missed the opportunity to have a really nice cruise because the waves were so huge and it was really cold, and it wasn't what I expected at all. So it was a really unique experience, I'll give it that. But Carnival as a whole, because I did say I would give my overall experience for how I felt Carnival did, and honestly, I think it was a great value for what we did on our cruise. There was usually always something to eat and always something to do, whether we did it or not. The people who cleaned our room were actually really nice. The room service was great. They got us whatever we wanted, whenever we wanted it. And it was pretty much like the best vacation, I guess you could say, that I've had. I haven't really had a time where I could ever go away for at least 5 days and not have to worry about anything. I could turn my phone on airplane mode. I wouldn't have to worry about time. It's just the minute that I walked into that cruise ship, all of my thoughts were gone. And then as soon as we walked back out of the cruise ship and I turned my phone off of airplane mode, then I got all my messages and my phone calls. That's whenever the thoughts come back into my head, and then I realized I had to drive home in a vehicle that only 2 out of the 4 doors actually opened, which was definitely an experience. And we ended up spending a whole bunch of money that I never thought we would actually spend. I thought once we purchased our cruise, that was all the money that we were going to spend, because that was a lot. And we had worked really hard to save that money up, so it was kind of just something that we really were thinking about for a while and wanting to do, and then we ended up spending way more than we should have. But that's just something you learn and you do better at next time, I guess. But I would definitely recommend going on a Carnival cruise if you have not been on one, at least to try it. They do have pretty good in the pricing category. Of course, you guys saw. If you didn't, you can see it, of course. We talked about the price of a cruise, and we compared the prices of Carnival to almost every other major cruise line that I could think of. And Carnival was pretty good about their prices. There was only one cruise line that beat Carnival, but it was only because they were giving a special away for first-time sailors. And I had no idea about that, or I probably wouldn't have went on that kind of cruise. But for what it was worth, I think we got our money's worth. And obviously, if I'm wanting to go again, I think it was something that I would recommend. Especially if you're like a first-time cruiser, this can be really helpful for you. I mean, if you want something cheap, but still kind of, you feel like you're getting your money's worth, I'd say go for a Carnival cruise. I know a lot of people might disagree with me, and I might actually disagree with myself if I end up going on a different cruise line and liking it a lot better than Carnival, but that's kind of my plan. My plan is to probably go on a Royal Caribbean cruise next and kind of just compare the two, because from a lot of the reviews I've seen, people compare Carnival and Royal Caribbean a lot of the times, and like, you have one side of people who are like, I've been on 30 Royal Caribbean cruises and 2 Carnival cruises, and I really would rather prefer Royal Caribbean, honestly. Duh, because you've went on 30 of them and only 2 Carnival cruises. Or you have the people who have only been on Carnival and are like, they're way better than Royal Caribbean. Or the people that have been on only a Royal Caribbean cruise and are like, they are way better than Carnival. So, definitely is a debate there for each of them. But that's why I wanted to do this series, mostly just not just for myself, but for you guys, to help you out as well. So hopefully I or you will be able to use this in the future before you go on your cruise, and it will help kind of make things a little bit easier. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. If I did, you can definitely go ahead and let me know, ask me anything, and I will try to answer it. Hopefully I'll be able to. Anything you can think of that I didn't mention in any of the different parts. But I think we are actually going to be finished with the final part of our review. It's actually been a pretty long process, but we got through it all, and I think hopefully I have given first-time cruisers a little bit more of a kind of like a sigh of relief as to thank you so much for mentioning this, because now I know what not to do, or now I know what to do, or now I'm just like, I'm ready to go on a cruise, or maybe I don't want to take a cruise, or maybe I don't want to go Carnival, or maybe I do want to go Carnival. Either way, I hope it helped you out, and I think I'm going to just end it off now. You guys can, we can just listen to the waves from that beautiful balcony view, and of course, I will see you in whatever review I do next, if I am planning on doing another review, which I hope I'll be able to do at some point in time, but for now, we're going to end this little mini-series here, and I hope you enjoyed.